So, what did we learn from last night's TCU versus Texas game? Let's get into it. If I look a little bit tired in the face, I'm recording this at the crack of dawn. So be sure to leave this video a like and comment down below. What are your guys' thoughts on Texas and TCU? I'm just going to come out and say it. This had to have been one of the worst offensive play calling games that I have ever seen when it comes to Texas's side of the football. TCU was practically lying down and giving Texas this win, but Coach Sharpe didn't want to call any offensive plays that made any sense. But before we touch on Texas and TCU's offense, we first got to talk about their defenses, because both of these teams played elite level defense. I know, defense in the Big 12, it's unheard of. On TCU's side of the defense, they were making it impossible for Quinn Ewers to get comfortable and get into a rhythm, seeing that they had 7 passes deflected, 2 sacks, and 6 tackles for a loss, as well as an interception. But the Texas Longhorns might have had the greatest defensive game that I've seen in college football this season. Listen to this stat line that the Texas Longhorns defense had last night. They had 90 total tackles, 5 sacks, 14 tackles for a loss, 1 pass deflected, 2 quarterback hurries, and a touchdown on the defense side of the ball. 3 different players had 11 tackles. I mean, in the first quarter, Barron Sorrell was trying to win the game by himself. He had 11 tackles, 1.5 sacks, and 3 tackles for loss, and a pass deflected, and pretty much all that came in the first quarter. Also, Jahdae Barron and Ryan Watts were making phenomenal plays in the secondary to just completely stifle any TCU offensive movement. I'm not gonna lie, if I'm Texas's defense, after the pretty much beautiful masterclass of a game that they played, they gave up only 1 big play. Obviously, it was Kendre Miller's 75-yard touchdown run, but they literally almost played the most perfect defensive game that you could ask for. TCU was constantly in their starting off their offensive drives on their own side of the ball, and Texas was 3 and out, constantly causing pressure. I don't think that Max Duggan had a single drop back where he had got actual time to be able to make a clean throw in a clean pocket. Texas has played one of the greatest defensive games that we've seen all year, and Texas offense did absolutely nothing with it. TCU pretty much gifted Texas a win, and Texas was like, nah, we don't want it. But now let's get into the individual team breakdowns of this section, and we'll start off with TCU. I know that TCU is undefeated right now. They're the number 4 team in the country, but they are they are not a top 5 team in the country. All they did was just have a relatively easy schedule. They beat teams that they were kind of like, okay, they overachieved in a couple games, but they are not the number 4 team in the country by any means. I mean, don't get me wrong, Texas decided to have one of the best defensive games in all of college football this year, but it ain't like Texas are some world beaters on the defensive side of the ball. All of the other teams that TCU would have to go up against would drop 40 on them and keep them to 10 points. Very, very simply. Like TCU, their offensive line couldn't stop any pressure that Texas's defensive line was causing. Max Duggan can't handle pressure. If he's not able to find his first couple reads, it ain't working. Kendre Miller was balling out there. I got to give it to him. Kendre Miller is an absolute dog. Quinn Johnston, he's a dog as well. But if Max Duggan can't get him the ball, then there's no point of even bringing him up. I mean, when you really look at TCU's schedule, their biggest wins came from other hot teams at the right time. I mean, they had a 4-game stretch where they beat Oklahoma, which at the time was a big win, but now we know that Oklahoma is absolute garbage this year. Kansas had their little hot run in the beginning of the season, but they're starting to cool off a little bit. Oklahoma State, solid quality win, but Oklahoma State isn't a team that we're going to be really looking to get into the college football playoffs. And then Kansas State, another one of these hot teams that, they got their couple good wins here and there. They had a favorable schedule, but now they're starting to play some real teams, and it's starting to show. TCU is not a top 4 team. Like, they're just undefeated. That's it. They're undefeated, but they are not a top 4 team. I mean, the fact that TCU for almost the entire game was starting off on their offensive drives on their own 40 or the opponent's 40. Literally, they're getting the whole game. They had some of the best field position on the offensive ball that any team has had all year, and they were only able to put up 17 points. That, like, literally absolutely terrible. So I'm pretty much done talking about TCU. I mean, I mean, good win, I guess. It's probably the ugliest win that I've seen. You guys were trying to give the game away with that fumble, scoop and score late in the fourth quarter. Hey, TCU, I mean, hopefully if you can continue the Cinderella story, that'd be cool, but I'm not buying the hype at all on TCU. So now let's switch over to Texas, and all my Longhorn fans, this was a rough one to watch. Like I said, if I'm Texas's defensive coordinator and every single player that played even one snap on the defensive side of the ball, I'm slapping Coach Sark and every offensive player. They absolutely sold the game for y'all. The fact that you were having to constantly stop TCU when TCU had some of the most blessed field position for the entire game. I don't think that TCU had a single offensive snap where they had to start the drive inside their own 30. I think like on the opponent's 30. I think that they were always starting off the ball either on the 40-ish 50 on either their or the opponent's side of the field. Like they had some of the most blessed field position for the entire game. Texas's defense held them to 17 points, and 7 of those came off of a 75-yard touchdown run that shouldn't have even happened because the play before that, TCU got away with the holding call. Literally, Texas played one of the most perfect defensive games that we've seen, and Coach Sark and that offense decided to just absolutely wet the bed. I mean, first and foremost, Texas receivers, catch the football. Like, what are we doing here? I mean, that first quarter, while Quinn Ewers, you know, he's in a big time game, you know, obviously he's been in other big time games, but you know, like it's a little bit later on in the season, you know, he's gotten a little bit more comfortable, so he doesn't have like the excuse of like, oh, you know, I'm still getting new to this, which he still is. I mean, he's technically age-wise a true freshman still, but you know what? He's playing college football now, so now you're going to be under the spotlight and the critique of being a college football player. Quinn Ewers needed help in the beginning of this game to, you know, just get comfortable and settle his nerves. And the fact that every single Texas receiver was just dropping the ball. Like literally everywhere he looked, he could not get a single person to catch the football for him. And speaking of drop passes, since Jatavion Sanders and Xavier Worthy were both showing that it was just tough for them to hold on to the football in this game, why did it take pretty much until the third quarter for Jordan Whittington to start getting involved in this passing game? Jordan Whittington finished off the game as Texas' leading receiver, having 6 catches for 78 yards. And I'm pretty sure he didn't get his first catch and his first target until the third quarter. On top of that, why are we calling big, deep shot plays when your quarterback is clearly showing that they're not comfortable and their wide receivers are showing that they can't catch the ball? Why are we throwing these big shot plays? It makes absolutely no sense. Coach Sharpe called one of the worst offensive games that I've ever seen. Like, oh, what are we struggling with? Okay, let's do more of that. Like, what? When a young quarterback is showing that he is not comfortable in the game, he's not able to connect with his wide receivers, you know, his throws are a little bit off. He's either underthrowing deep passes or overthrowing them, you know, just the accuracy is not there. Wide receivers are dropping the ball. The way to remedy that is by getting quick, short throws to just get the quarterback and the offense in a little bit of timing, and then run the ball. Texas might literally have the best running back in college football in Bijan Robinson, and they gave him the ball 12 times. I know that TCU's defensive line was doing a phenomenal job of creating pressure, and I know that Texas was starting 2 freshmen on that offensive line, and you know, it was a little bit shaky. But you have the best running back in college football. 12 times that you're giving him the ball with your quarterback struggling like that? Terrible, just absolutely terrible play calling. I'm gonna wrap this video up. So to give the final breakdown, TCU, hey, you know what? You got out with the lucky one. There's absolutely no, you guys should have lost this game. You guys either should have won this game by 4 touchdowns or lost this game by 4 touchdowns. There is no in between with the great field position that you guys had all game, and to do absolutely nothing with it shows that you guys' offense is not as hyped as everybody had it out to be when coming into this game. And you know, your defense kind of solid, but Texas offense was just giving you guys the win on the defensive side of the ball. So, hey, TCU, continue your miracle run as long as you guys can. You guys are not the 4th best team in the country. You're like Clemson, where, you know, you don't really play that good at competition, but you get a lot of wins, and so it's kind of hard to not rank you up really high because you get a lot of wins. But as soon as you play somebody quality, or you'll just slip up and just lose a game that you're not supposed to lose. So TCU, continue your run as long as you can, but, you know, count your days. And Texas, this was terrible. This was absolutely one of the just most polarizing games that I've ever seen. I've never equally seen one of the greatest defensive game calls and just gameplays that I've ever seen, and also seen one of the worst offensive play calls and just offensive game schemes that I've ever seen in the same game. Like, Texas is extremely polarizing. Quinn Ewers, please stop floating the ball everywhere. You were coming out of high school, and I even called you the next Aaron Rodgers. Launch that thing, man. Air it out. Always miss on the side of I'd rather overthrow a guy than underthrow a guy. Like, let that ball fly. Drive the ball through. Like, there was so many times where he was just, you know, just kind of floating the ball to guys. He's just like, it's just like he's just like aiming the ball and just kind of just like, oh, like, no, rifle that, like, get the ball on your receivers. Like, you know, obviously it's not confidence inspiring when your receivers are dropping passes that are hitting them square in the hands. I get it, but that cannot affect you. As a quarterback, you need to be the rock. You need to be the pillar that the whole offense can lean on. Rifle that ball in there. Stop flowing everything in there. Again, I know he's a young quarterback. He still has time to develop next year. And so, yeah, Coach Sark, get it together, bro. This was one of the most, this should have been your easiest win all season. Like, out of the quality wins, this should have been the easiest one. You guys could have beat the number 14 by like 55 points if you guys had your offense in check. This was absolutely terrible. If I'm a Texas fan, I'm sick after watching this one. You guys should have very easily won this game. Comment down below what are your guys' thoughts on this game. This was just an absolute travesty of a game to watch. Leave this video a like, hit that subscribe button, turn your notifications so you stay on top of all of these college football game day breakdowns. And with that being said, I love and appreciate all y'all. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Ciao.